to today's video. And in today's video, I'll be discussing which states I think are battlegrounds and competitive states, and which states I don't think are. And before I get started, I kind of want to characterize this battleground definition. I say characterize. I'm talking politics way too much. But I guess define this battleground characterization. It's not necessarily a swing state, as swing states have a legit possibility of voting either way. Battleground states still can vote either way, but you would need a very strong candidate from one side to flip it. Like, for example, the state of South Carolina is a battleground. State of Florida is not. Oh, by the way, I'm characterizing every battleground and swing state just so it can be, just so we can be a little bit more broad with this. But I mean battleground and swing state, but not everything in here is a swing state necessarily, but everything in here is battlegrounds or closer. Anyways, the state of Florida has, like, South Carolina is not going to vote to the left of Florida, most likely. However, the state of Florida has a very good chance of voting to the left or to the right of North Carolina. Both could go either way. But Florida would not vote for a Republican should South Carolina vote for a Democrat. I don't see a world in which that happens. At least in today's political environment, that could easily happen. I would say 12 years from not easily, but it could. I could see it happening 12 years from now. Anyways, let's get started. First off, the states of Colorado and New Mexico. If we take a look at this map, by the way, this is map.jacksonjude.com. It's a really nice website. Okay, I don't know why. I'm just now noticing this. For whatever reason, this map looks stretched wide. I don't know, I'm probably just looking at this weird. Even though it's actually, I believe, made the same with this. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Anyways, if you look at New Mexico and Colorado, 10.8 and 13.5% with Joe Biden. And if you go take a look at 2016, 4.9 and 8.2% with Hillary Clinton. New Mexico has shifted, 8.2 to 10.8, 2.6 points to left, and Colorado has shifted a lot. It shifted from 4.9 to 13.5. That's, I'm trying to do the math, 8.6% to the left. That is a very strong shift. And if we look back, it had already been doing that. Barack Obama barely kept it in likely margins, and I've talked about before, I don't necessarily think that Hillary Clinton was a great candidate looking back. Also, can we just talk about, like, Obama? He did better in states that he should not have done better in. Like, Mississippi, only 11%. Okay, that was very off topic. Anyways, but if you look at this, Colorado has always kind of been a swing state. Likely for, H.W.? Yeah, George H.W. Bush. Lean for Bill Clinton. Lean for Bob Dole. Likely for George Bush. Lean for George Bush. Likely for Obama. That was, this year was a blue wave year. He flipped Indiana, which is a state that it's not even competitive. Made Montana and the Dakotas both competitive. Missouri was extremely competitive. Kansas was actually not as competitive as today, but in that day and age, that was saying a lot more. He won Iowa by 9%. He even won Nebraska second by less than Joe Biden, but that's still something at that point in time. Anyways, and then you look at this, it's shifted slowly over like the last 12 years. And New Mexico has more or less done the same. Obama won it by safe margins. He also won Michigan by safe margins. He flipped Virginia into likely margins. It was, likely Republican state to a likely blue state. That's a large shift. Anyways, I think that these two are safe blue. Even with Obama's landslide victories, they still become safe blue. I think they'll probably both be likely blue. Actually, maybe Colorado being safe blue. I think they'll probably both be safe or likely, but I don't think they're very competitive at this point in time. Next up, I'm going to do two Republican states, Missouri and Iowa. Missouri used to be a battleground ages ago. I don't even know if it's... Yeah, okay. So we can go start in, 88. Bush carried it by 4%. But then Bill Clinton carried it by 10%. A lot of this might have also been because of a regional advantage. He was from Arkansas. Missouri's not necessarily in the South, but it's bordering Arkansas. Anyways, likely margins for Bush, or for Clinton. Bush won it by 3.3. Then he won it by 7.2. And then it was incredibly close in 2008. It was 0.1. And then 9%. Then it voted with Trump by 18 or 19% basically. And that was just outside of likely margins. I think there's a really good shot that it does go likely. But I think at this point, it's probably a safe state. Iowa, I don't necessarily think that it would be safe, but the reason that I'm going to characterize it as safe, as you can see, Iowa, it's been really competitive. But Obama won it. He won it by 9.5. And then he carried it again by 5.8. But then when Trump won it by 9 point something. Sorry, by the way. I keep my tabs are just on here, so there's numbers and keynote and news and stuff. I'm so sorry about that. Trump won it by 9.4. And then he won it by 8.2. I think the Democrats could make it legitimately competitive again, even though it is getting a lot wider than, or it's getting very, very white, and the white vote favors the Republicans heavily. But, I do think that the Democrats could put it back into play. As you can see, over the span of 4 years, it flipped from being a 5.8 state to a 9.4. And over the span of 8 years, it went from being a 9.5 state to an 9.4. This state shifts very drastically. I think that the last time that it wasn't likely it was 2004. It hasn't been not likely since 2004. It's voted both ways. It's voted Democrat, and it's also voted Republican over these last couple of elections. So it tends to vote very heavily one way. However, I don't think the Democrats will put up much of a play here. If you look, we can see what happened with Missouri. Obama, like I said, he was one of a kind. He was able to do things that other Democrats could not have done. But then you see he barely lost it, and then Mitt Romney won it by a lot. And then it just shifted into being solid red. At this point, I don't necessarily think. I think the Democrats have a very good shot. In Iowa, I don't want to say very good shot. I think they have a decent shot, but I think that they're going to most likely give it up. After all, Democrats are starting out with an advantage. I've said this before. Republicans are fighting an uphill battle almost every election. And it's only 6 electoral votes to Democrats. It's not 6 electoral votes they need. With Republicans, they need every vote that they can get. And 6 electoral votes is definitely something that they need. I think that the Democrats have a very good shot at giving up at, I say very good shot. I think there's a very good chance that Democrats give up on it. Next up is the state of Virginia. If you go and you take a look at this, it used to be a Republican state. It was lean and likely for a while. Bush was a lot like Obama, Clinton was a lot like Obama. He made it relatively competitive, only 4.4% for George H.W. Bush, and for Bob Dole, only 2%. But then it kind of reverted back to a solid red nature. In fact, actually, if you look at this, Georgia shifted from, it went blue, but then it went back to being red, and went back to being a solid Republican state. Anyways, he went by about 8%, and then he went by 8.2%, so around that 8% margin. And then Obama flipped it to 6.3%. And then he won it by lean margins, only 3.9%. This is when it was truly a swing state. And then Hillary Clinton won it by 5.3%. Still pretty close margins, just outside of being a lean state. But then Joe Biden won it by 10.1%. I think that at this point it's still probably going to be a likely state, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive. The Virginia Republican Party is also more or less incompetent. I say this about a lot of parties in a lot of states. There's a lot of states who just can't run good candidates. Democratic Party in Florida, Democratic Party in Ohio, Democratic Party in North Carolina, Republican Party in Arizona, Republican Party in Virginia. They're just not very good at what they're doing. They don't seem to run the best candidates. And the Virginia Republican Party is one of those parties. I think that at this point Virginia is definitely a Democratic stronghold. Next up is actually, well, not necessarily, not next up. Next up, state that's I guess first up, state that's not, or that is now a battleground competitive state, Kansas. It only went up Donald Trump by likely margins. It shifted about 6 points to the left. If you look at its history, it hasn't been likely since 2008, which was probably the biggest one of this century. What, 365? Yeah, that's definitely the biggest one of the century. And like I said, he was able to flip the state of Indiana, and even with Indiana undergoing what, 22% shifts to the left, Kansas was barely even a likely state, only 15%. And then you keep on going, it shifted by like 5% over the last 4 years. And about 6% over the last, or actually more like 7% over the last 8 years. I think that I think it's competitive. It's had competitive Senate races. It has a Democratic governor, Laura Kelly. I always forget her name. I don't know why. I always forget her name, but Laura Kelly. They had a relatively competitive Senate race. She wasn't like it wasn't incredibly competitive, but it was a relatively competitive Senate race. I don't necessarily think that it'll be as competitive on the presidential level as it is on the statewide level, but I think that it still definitely has potential to be a very close state, and I think it will be over the next couple years. I'm pretty sure, I might have looked at the map wrong, but I did look at a map, and Kansas had a pretty high Hispanic population, which is obviously good for Democrats. People act as if Democrats lost the Hispanic vote, but if you look at it, they still won like 2/3 of it. If only Hispanic voters were to vote in every state, it would be a Democratic landslide. But and they would win every state by like safe margins. But the state of Kansas, I think at this point is definitely a competitive state. Like I said, battleground is kind of thrown around a lot. Like battleground and swing state have been used interchangeably. So I don't necessarily want to say it's a battleground. But then I do think it's competitive, and I think it will be a swing state in 12 years. Maybe 16, maybe 12. It all depends on how America is shifting. In the state of Alaska, this state has been a swing state for a couple years. Or I say a swing state, a competitive state. George W. Bush in 2004 won it by 20, like about 26%. John McCain won it by about 22%. Mitt Romney, he lost significant votes, only winning it by 14%. And then you look at this. Donald Trump won it by about 14%. See, it's been on the line between likely and safe for about 8 years, or it was, for that like 4-year period. But then it became much more competitive. It shifted by about 4 points. It did that previously, and that led to it being closer. But if it were to continue to do that, like over the last 16 years, it has shifted like 15 points to the left. If it does over the next 16 years, it will be a Democratic state. I think it won't happen necessarily that fast, or I think it will happen. I think it won't necessarily be a swing state in that long of a time, because that's the time it would take to be like a likely blue state. I think over the next maybe 8 years, if Democrats do very well. I don't think it'll take 8 years. I think it'll take more like 10 to 12 years. Something along those lines. I think that this state could definitely get more competitive and become a swing state. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. The Georgia runoffs are this Tuesday. I will be releasing something on Election Day. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm either going to release it on Election Day or the day before. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to upload tomorrow. But I do know that either on Election Day or the day before, I have a special treat for you guys if I can get it to work. If I can't, I'll have to find another way, but I will get it up for you guys. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.